further on why should occupational health and safety exist, right? Why should occupational health and safety exist? So I'm quite glad with the progress so far. Today we are going to continue from where we left and discuss further on issues that pertain to occupational health and safety. Shira, course, let me just project what we are about to talk about. All right. Okay. In front of you there, you are going to see a slide that we are going to be using in our presentation, and you are also going to be seeing a PDF that we are going to be talking about when I introduce that. Our main reason of meeting, of course, is still the same thing, that we would want to explore more issues about safety, health, and environment representative training is conducted here at Lusatec. Right. The next thing we need to talk about here is the legislation. Yesterday, I left having told people that each one of you go through the Act and find out what does it say. The Act that we are going to be talking about is Occupational Health and Safety Act 885 of 1993. So I would expect that every time when you talk about safety, try by all means to quote this Act, because it is the most important Act. There is no way you would say you are doing or you understand SHIREP without understanding this Act. Of course, there are other acts which I'm going to introduce at the end of the lesson, which can also be of help and assistance when people are doing or involved in the issues of occupational health and safety, right? Then why do we need this? The purpose of this Act is to provide a safe and healthy working environment, which is enshrined on Section 8, which is something we are going to be talking about. The structure of this Act, it talks about employers, it talks about employee, and then it also talks about SHIREPs. How do these people meet at the end of the day and discuss or present a proper working environment? Failure to comply with Occupational Health and Safety Act can result in a situation where a company can end up meeting issues such as compliance issues, right? People might end up meeting compliance issues. I'm seeing people raising hands. Should I take hands for now, or I'll take hands later? Otherwise, instead of raising hand, can you just type the question so that while I'm teaching, I can read the question and sort it out? Is that possible? For you to find ways of typing the question there so that I can be able to answer to the question instead of listening to each hand, since we are many. I hope we will agree with that. All right. Or maybe people are not familiar with this raising of hand. That thing that is like a hand in front of you, if you are clicking it, it means you want me to allow you to talk. Maybe that's something we should talk about first. Yeah. So if you are raising the hand, it means you want me to allow you to talk. So I must. It's like raising a hand. Right. Can I allow people not to raise hand for now, and I'll take hands maybe at the end, or I'll take questions when the time comes. Okay, let's move on. Since this thing is recording, let me not talk much about that. The Act on its own, has got a purpose, right? One of the key points that are raised inside the occupational health and safety is the issue about enforcement. The Department of Labor, through its inspectors, you'll see with each and every Department of Labor in an area, like here in Fried, we have our own. Wherever you are there, you have your own Department of Labor. They do have inspectors, right? These inspectors, they are given powers to move around from one workplace to another to be able to actually do inspections. Now, when they do these inspections, they sometimes find situations where people have contravened the occupational health and safety, right? So they then issue notices. There are three major notices that they can issue as presented in front of you there. There is what we contravention notice. This is when you have got non-compliance of the act, and they tell you that you are not in compliance, and therefore there are certain things that need to be done, and they would come back and ask for such. Or they can issue what we call an improvement notice. Improvement notice will then indicate or will require you to take action to improve certain parts of your workplace, right? The workplace will be able to actually sort it out. Then prohibition notice would actually be a powerful one, because they would ask you to stop work immediately because there are people at immediate danger, right? So consequences of these notices is that at some point you might end up paying fines as a company. Sometimes your workplace can be closed altogether, or sometimes you can even end up being jailed because of these offenses. So they are quite serious, and I would expect people to understand that when we progress with our life as SHE-reps, it is quite an important thing to take care of your SHE or of your OHS. Now let's look at the key sections that are of great importance. Of course, there are a lot of sections that are of importance that SHE-reps need to know. Here I've just made a list of important sections. You need to know section 7, section 8, 14, 17, 19, 24, and 29 in and out, as in like by heart. If right now I just call anybody here and say, for instance, Lamlan, what does section 17 say? I would expect you to at least give me an idea, right? If somebody calls right now and say, Lamlan, section 29, we would expect you to have a particular idea of this. And so, good people, let us not be found sleeping on our work. Let's download that act which I gave you, or which is there on LMS. You download it and then you work it through. Let's move on now and start looking into these sections. I'm going to project one of the documents that you already have in there, but I'll project it right now so that we can be able to see it together. Okay, I'll project the PDF. Where is it? I'll find it just now. Right, there you are. Right, I'm sharing the screen with you, and most of you should be able to see this screen as we speak. All right, I'll also try to make it a little bit bigger so that it can be quite clear to everyone. Okay, good. So there we are. We now have in front of us the document that everyone should be having somewhere, somehow. It's a PDF that we distributed to everyone. Okay, this is an extract. I would say it is an extract from the main act, and it is just trying to create a way where it is getting a way where actually you are able to use this act in a simplified manner. Because remember, if you go to the act does explain a lot of things. But Tina, what we did here is just to simplify it so that you can understand it much easier. Let's look at section 7, good people. Section 7 talks about health and safety policy. It indicates clearly that everyone needs to have an OHS, right? Everyone needs to have an OHS policy. What does a policy say? Just like any other place where people meet for some reason. Let's say it's a church. Let's say it's a stokvel. Let's say it's an organization, it's a club. People need to have a constitution. People need to have a policy. People need to have a document that you follow. So in this situation, we are talking about a company here that should create a policy about health and safety. This policy will be a policy that shows how much dedicated are you as a company, right? How much of dedication are you putting in as far as health and safety is concerned, right? And the law says this policy needs to be displayed where employees can have access, right? So you might find at your workplace that there's a notice board, then you try to put it on the notice board. Now, where do we come in, Tina, as SHREPs on this part of the section? This section talks mainly about the company designing a good working health and safety policy. So when you arrive as a SHREP at this company, you should be able to ask, where is your health and safety policy? If this health and safety policy is not there, it is the job of all the SHREPs or safety reps, together with management, to sit down and draft a new working health and safety policy. It is also a duty of safety reps to review the current policy. If the company already has a policy, it is also your duty to review these policies and look, are they still fine or not? What should we add? What should we remove? So that you can continue being in compliance, because compliance is very important, okay? Then let's move on to Section 8. Section 8 becomes the heart of this act. It is the heart of this act, and why am I using the word heart is because most of the reason why we are doing this is because the employer is supposed to provide a safe and healthy working environment. So this is quite clear that we should be having a workplace that is actually what? Safe and healthy in as far as possible. So in the process, actually, Tina, as safety reps, where do we come in? We come in because we are going to be working with the employer and the employees towards providing this safe and healthy workplace. So that is where SHREPs comes, and we are going to see later on as we go down when we talk about the responsibilities of a SHREP, right? Another thing that this act says on Section 8, it says machines need to be provided. And these machines, when they are being provided or they are being used at any workplace, they need to be as safe as possible. So we are talking about different machineries, right? We are talking about different machineries. At some point, we can have such as like cars. For instance, if we have got cars, right? We have got machinery such as big machineries that we are using at different companies. We can have a lot of machinery equipment. I can name them. But our job as SHREP, Tina, is to find out that, are these machineries serviced? Are these machineries maintained? Are there qualified people or qualified companies that are being called to maintain these things? All right. So a SHREP helps the owner of the company or the employer by assisting to make sure that these machines are as safe as possible. So you realize that everything that an employer is supposed to be doing according to OHS, you as a SHREP on the other side, you are bound to assist that person or that employer in that regard. How do you assist as a SHREP in this situation? You would want to check the service date of the equipment. You would want to check the maintenance date of the equipment, and also want to check who exactly is doing those maintenances, right? So in the process of doing so, you are actually assisting the employer to what? To do his or her job in providing these machineries that are safe. Let's look at number C. Number C says that risk assessment must be done by a competent person. Risk assessment must be done by a competent person. What does this mean? It basically means that in the process of providing number A, Remember, number A, we said the company must provide a safe and a healthy environment as possible. How would you do so? There are other things that need to be done for you to be able to know whether this is a hazard or that one is not a hazard. How do you know that? You need to perform what we call risk assessment. Risk assessment is actually a process on its own, which is something we're going to be talking about tomorrow. It's a process on its own that takes place where people or a person is identifying hazard and then weighing the risk and say, what is the risk on this hazard, right? So as a safety rep, it is also your job to be part and parcel of those people who are performing risk assessment. By doing so, you are assisting the employer to perform his duties in as far as risk assessment are concerned. So where does it come in, this word competent person? You are now a competent person because we are teaching you right now to become a competent person. Because a competent person is a person who has been trained to do something, right? Let's move on to number D. Number D says staff must be made aware of workplace hazards and safety measures. Okay. This statement here, you will see it will be helped very soon with another section. This is a section where we need to talk. This is a section where an employer needs to talk. So, good people, if an employer is going to employ you and fail to indicate that you probably going to go into a place where there is danger, right? If that person is not telling you, Uguti, you are getting in a place where there is danger, then we have got a problem, right? Because the act says you need to inform people that I'm about to give you a task, but this task has got hazards. I'm about to employ you, but where I'm employing you, there are hazards, right? And then after I have told you that these hazards exist, I must also tell you, Uguti, there are safety measures that we are going to agree between you and I. We are going to put in place so that we can assist each other, right? So I think it is very important to understand, Leo and Uguti. At some point, employer need to be reminded that do not just keep quiet and relax if you are going to give people tasks, right? If you are going to give people tasks, you would want to give people tasks and at the same time remind them that, guys, these tasks, they might put you in danger. But however, this danger, this is how we are going to assist you so that you are not in danger. For instance, I can give you an example. I want you to go up there and clean windows, and you are going to use a ladder, right? Picture this. I'm sending you up there to go and clean windows, and I'm going to ask you to use ladder, right? It is my job as an employer who is giving you this task, or as a supervisor that I'm giving you this task, to remind you that you might fall on a ladder. You might slip on a ladder. You might trip on a ladder, right? All these are dangers that you might face, and these are the hazards and risks involved there. If you fall, you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to break a neck, you might die, etc, etc, etc. So in the process of me telling you this, I should also indicate that, but don't worry, right? I have assessed the risk, and I feel that if you use a safety belt, right, then you might not fall. I have assessed the risk, and I have put sponge, or I have put this on the floor so that if you happen to fall, you won't hurt yourself. I have assessed the risk, and I've decided that use these type of shoes so that you will not slip on a ladder, and so on and so on. So if you analyze my scenario that I've just given you here, what have I done? I have told you that this is the risks that you are going to be associated with your job. But at the same time, I've also told you the safety measures that I'm putting in place for you not to get hurt. That is very important. Then we move on to number E. Number E is very important. There must be a competent supervision. right? When we say there must be a competent supervision, it's a small statement but quite big. In most cases, some companies or most companies, there's nepotism. You all understand what nepotism is, right? We promote each other in a funny way for whatever reason. Sometimes I promote you because you are my wife. If I'm working my wife, I can't expect my wife to continue working at the lower level. I'll promote her to become my assistant or some kind of manager at some point, right? Yes, I should do that because she's my wife, right? But did I take her for training first? Right? The important part is now I must take her for training. All right. If I meet Umzala, Umzala uzofaka message with how my uncle or my nephew or whatever cousin, I need a job. Then I give you a job. And Umzala is gonna come at my shop. Maybe I'm running a supermarket. I am not gonna allow Umzala to be at the gate as a security officer. I will take Umzala inside and become some kind of a follow man. Induna. In Zulu, they call Induna. All of a sudden, he is now Induna, Lituna in Susut. Now, all of a sudden, now you are now in Induna at work. How? Okay. Did we take Mzala for training? That's my question. So there's nothing wrong. Of course, it is wrong to use nepotism and employ your relatives. You should employ people because of their merit and qualifications. But after employing these people and promoting them, make them competent, right? I think some of you have been wondering why companies from time to time, they send their people for training, right? Even cleaners, a job that people might look down, which is not a good thing. Cleaners are good people. They are working for us to be safe and to be hygienic. Even if you are a cleaner, you will see companies taking you for training. Why are they taking you for training? They are making you competent. They are making you to be competent because you can't just assume that somebody knows unless you have trained him or her. So number E is very important. When we appoint whoever we want to appoint, Uguti, a supervisor or for whatever reason, or a manager or some kind of a position, make sure that person is trained to be competent. The last part of this thing, number F talks about PPE. This PPE thing is very funny. We will talk about PPE tomorrow in a bigger section. But here we are saying that she-reps need to assist the employer by making sure that PPE is requested, PPE is issued, and staff are trained on its use. And we need to underline the issue of issued and underline the word trained on its use. Let's first talk about the issued. Why are we saying issued? A company is forced to buy you PPE, not you buying yourself PPE, right? Let's see, why is a company forced to buy you PPE? Remember on section D, part D of section 8. Part D here, we just said here that you must inform staff of workplace hazards and safety measures. So safety measure here is that I'm giving you PPE. Therefore, I must give you PPE. So ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are working or wherever you are going to be working, be clear as safety reps and indicate to the employer that, A, we need to assist our employees getting them PPE. Now, when the PPE is given to these people, these PPE, these people need to be trained how to use PPE, right? People need to be trained how to use PPE, because if you assume that these people know how to use this PPE, you will be left hanging at some point because people might not know how to use the PPE. One, people might not know why they are using the PPE. We can go get many examples of how of people who don't know how to use PPE. For example, if I give you a work suit right now, you take the work suit, you put it at home, you want to wear it during weekend, right? People do that. They start wearing these work suits, iron them nicely, and they start attending funerals and functions and wearing PPE. instead of wearing it at work, right? So if you check why is it so, it's because these people are not fully trained with Hyman. PPE is not for you to do umswenko with it. PPE is for you to wear it at work, and so that it can what? It can protect you from being hurt. Right? At some point, we should also edit this one. I like to say it in every day when I'm training it. Our own president during COVID, our own president Ramaphosa could not put a mask in his face or mouth. He tried to put it. He failed. If I ask you why did the president fail to put a mask in front of TV, to front of everybody, it's because they did not train him. Because the people who are working with him did not take him for number F. They thought he knows, which is one thing that is wrong, because people assume what you know when you don't know. Train somebody so that he can then be able to perform. So if our president was trained on that particular day, only 2 minutes, we would say, hey, Mnumzan, this is how we put a mask. Then he would not have done that in front of TV, but maybe he was giving us something to laugh about. So we move on with people on the issue of Section 8. So you will see that Section 8 talks about duties of an employer. But if you look deeper, these duties are also talking to you as a safety rep. When an employer is being given an instruction to do, you should assist the employer in making sure that this thing takes place, right? So we are not going to be she-reps who are just going to be pointing fingers to the employer and say, do this, do that, without assisting. We need to be able to assist our employer in implementing these things. Let's move on to Section 9. Section 9, good people, talks about what we referred to yesterday and said, when we are doing H&S, we are not only doing H&S for those people whom we work with. You also do H&S or safety and health or health and safety for others. That is like visitors, clients, community, management, what do you call these people? Suppliers, as well as even the pets of the community, etc., etc. So safety cannot only be done only for people at your work alone, right? Yes, Palisa Vanessa, the screen is shared. Yes, it is shared. I'm not sure why you are not seeing it, but it is shared 100%. All right. Now, when you have understood the issue of Section 9, that you are not only going to be doing health and safety for yourself alone and employees, it's also extended to other types of traffic that might come to your workplace. Number 13, duty to inform. Number 13 talks back to what we have already spoken about earlier on Section 9(8), where we said workers need to be informed when there are hazards. People need to be informed of the safety measures. So 13 is also saying the same thing that has been said by Section 8, but it's putting more pressure to say everyone has a duty to inform each other about safety issues. So if you find out that something has been broken at work and it might cause somebody to be injured, and if you keep quiet, you must know that you are breaking Section 13, because we all have duty to inform. Okay, right. Let's move on to the next part, where we are talking about Section 14. Right, I am moving as fast as possible because I believe that yesterday I did leave a homework that read. So I'm talking about something people have already read. I'm not talking about something that is new on it. Number one. So if we talk about Section 14 March, if Section 14 refers to employees now, as you can see, we are now putting a mirror between Section 8 and Section 14, because Section 8 talks about the employer, then Section 14 talks about the employee. Now, we are saying here, what should employee do? Number one, an employee must follow lawful instructions by the employer. So we should underline the word lawful, right? And ask ourselves, when is an instruction become unlawful, and when can an instruction become lawful? Right? An instruction is unlawful the moment safety is not followed according to this act. Right? So if I am going to tell you that take this car, go and collect people at the rank like most of our taxi drivers, right? Because people are poor, they want a job, they will accept. But most of the cars that they are accepting, they are not in the condition. That's not a lie, right? They are not in the condition to carry people. They are not conditioned to be driven. Maybe you go TikTok, we are meeting those videos when they are using that song, So Hlangane Mathunen. But in Sobona Mathunen or something like that song there. And it's quite funny, but it's true, Buffett. It's true. People there, they are driving taxis that are not okay. So I'm gonna use that example. If you are driving a taxi angel, or you have a slow but that does so. So kupa mtshwarelo bani zonke ke bua lesotho le sona phela kuna le batho ba bua Sotho mona. Right. Now moving on to this part where we are talking about an example of a taxi driver who takes a taxi from the owner, which is actually not in a good condition to be used, which means it's not safe. When you meet a traffic officer, right? My good question here is, does a traffic officer give the ticket to the owner of the taxi, or he gives the ticket to you, the driver? He gives you, the driver, because you are the one who is breaking the law. You took an unlawful instruction from the employer. You should have said, no, I can't drive a car without a permit. I can't drive a car that is not in order. I can't drive a car without brakes. I can't drive a car without a proper gear, and so on and so on and so on and so on. But because we want money, we end up just accepting and say, then we just what? We just do it. But grand, we are supposed to say, no, I can't drive a car without handbrakes. I can't drive a car without proper lights. Right? And when you meet a traffic cop or any other police, they will arrest you or give you ticket when yourself as the employee, not the employer. So when you think about section 14A, always remember my example, air driver. There is no traffic officer who will say, I'm going to give ticket to the owner. No, they will give ticket to you immediately because you are the one who is contravening. So same thing at work, whether you are working at a shop, you are working in any industry, or you are working in a construction company. You should be in a position where somebody sends you to do something, climb this ladder and do windows. You should be able to decline that or that instruction properly, so and say, sir or ma'am, I would want to do it, and trust me, I can do it perfectly so. But can you give me things that will make me safe? Then I do it. Okay? Let's say a person says, here is a mop the floor, and properly your job is to mop the floor. Fine, you can accept the offer and say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, I can mop the floor. But can I have gloves for me to work properly? Can I have this so that my work becomes safe and okay? Because I can't be touching dirty water with my bare hands. So here we are not saying employees must refuse instruction, but that would be insubordination. That would be very serious offense, insubordination. But we are saying advise your immediate supervisor or your employer, yes, I can take this instruction only if I am safe. So in this situation, you are actually making a clear indication that I understand section 14, that I must take only lawful instructions, not unlawful instructions. Let's move on. The next thing that you are supposed to do, every employee, just like what we've said in section 13, duty to inform, you also have a duty to report unsafe conditions every time. So you need to report unsafe conditions. You cannot just keep quiet when you see that this condition is no longer safe, because you and your fellow employees will then get injured, right? You are also supposed to report incidents and injuries. Here it's also a very big issue, right? I always give an example of people maybe working in a construction industry, and by mistake you hit your finger by maybe a nail or a sando or a hammer or whatever you call it. You hit your finger, this index finger. Then you become men about it. You know, people say, ah, don't be a chicken about it. You become men about it and say, ah, it's fine. Then you don't report it, right? Or you are cut a little bit on a finger and you don't report it and say, I'll just put a plaster and go home. Now, picture this. You get to your home and this finger starts paining. This finger starts swelling. This finger start turning green. Maybe there's infection. Then all along, going, you go to a hospital. You arrive at a hospital, they tell you, no, you are losing your finger. Right? Let's say they tell you at the hospital that this finger is now something that needs to be cut. We need to amputate. Now, if they are going to take it, that finger, they take it. Now you come back to work after some days and say, boss, I lost a finger here. I want to claim money. The boss tells you that you were never here. Right? The boss will tell you simple that you were never here at all. This did not happen here. The boss will tell you that this finger has nothing to do with my workplace, so don't claim here. So I'm coming back to the issue to say, let us report incidences, even if it's small. Let us report incidences, even if they are small. Let us report every injury, no matter how small, and you can deal with it, or you can be men about it. There's nothing manly about not reporting an injury. Also, it's not about only claiming. Sometimes you are also reporting so that this thing can be fixed and not happen again, right? So if you are going to move at a shop, for example, right now, if I send you to ShopRite and say, go to ShopRite, and then upon arrival in ShopRite, you find there's water, then you slip and you almost fall. You need to report to the nearest person in ShopRite. Say, hey, chief, there is water there, I almost fell. What if you keep quiet? Somebody comes, falls, break a head, and die. What about somebody falls, break a hand, and become crippled or disabled because of you not reporting a small incident or a small injury? As SheRep, we need to understand that we encourage our fellow employees that they should report. Number D, it says employees must look after their H&S and that of others. Of course, this is in support with Chapter 9. Section 9, if you go backwards, you'll meet that Section 9 was talking about that. Let's move to Section 15, good people. Section 15 talks about duty not to interfere. Duty not to interfere. People love to interfere with certain things that are implemented or that are put in to actually save people during issues. For example, here there is fire equipment, right? You find the people at workplace doing content on a birthday, spraying each other using fire extinguishers. It's a good content, trust me. You get a lot of likes on these TikToks and YouTube and stuff. But you are now playing with something that is intended to be used when there is fire. So you have just contravened Section 15, right? What else? The other thing that I found when I went for audits, I found a guy who disabled that noise that makes, you know, when forklifter is reversing, or most of plant or things that are used in companies, these big things, when they are reversing, they make that sound in dee, 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 dee. That sound is very irritating, very annoying. So this guy disabled it so that it does not make that sound. But that sound is not put there for fun. It is put there to remind you, the driver, and other people who are next to you, that this machine is reversing. And the driver might not see you properly. So it's not by mistake that when a car or a particular machinery, when it's reversing, it's making noise. It is a safety thing there. You are not supposed to tamper with it and you switch it off, right? Other people when they buy a grinder or when they're using a grinder, you know that small grinder, right? They take off those things that are there to protect the grinder, especially the covers, because that cover, it makes it difficult to use a grinder. So every time you buy a grinder, you remove the cover, you remove the handle. Now you hold it by its body and you are able to turn it around and cut properly whatever you want to cut. But if I ask you that, if that blade breaks, what is going to happen? It will come straight to your head, right? And imagine if you are cutting on the floor and your legs are spread apart and you are cutting and the disc breaks. I can't explain further than that. You are contravening section 15. Let me read it so that you understand it. No person may interfere, tamper, or damage any equipment or resources in regards to H&S. So as a she rep, you need to advise your fellow employees and say, but guys, this is put for us to be safe. Do not tamper with it. Let's leave it as it is because it's important for us to use the, yeah, that's quite an scary example. Let's move on now and indicate to section 16. Section 16 is simple. It just tells us that we as she reps, as well as safety officers, first aiders, managers, supervisors, as much as they can be given duties of a CEO or duties of the employer still remains the person who is in charge of the company because they are the ones who can incur legal liability. I won't go deeper about legal liability. To take me days to explain it. Let's move on to the legal aspects in terms of appointing a she rep. Right. I think we have read about this, that the law says when there are 20 employees, then you are forced to appoint a she rep and one she rep against 50 for factories, mines, and etc., etc. And then one safety she rep for 100 employees for shops, offices, or places where there is no much risk. Right. In that regard, I'm actually laughing at Sonwabiso here, who is actually confirming that he also took out the cover. I also took out the cover of a grinder. Trust me, my grinder does not have a cover. I'm actually in contravening of that section stuff. Right, back to 17. There, we are talking about the idea of how these are then appointed, but we need to understand that safety regulations at some point they are stipulated here with 20 employees then get a safety rep appointed. But in some situations, companies now understand the importance of OHS. They don't wait until 20 employees. This is what the law says. But in most cases, once we have got 2, 3, 4 employees, make sure one of them is a safety rep and take him or her for training. So when you are answering, of course, you need to stipulate what the law is saying, but also understand that it's no longer practical at work to wait for these numbers for you to get a safety rep. People are now doing a safety rep much earlier. Right. Then let's move on to the functions of a safety rep. Functions of a safety rep, so that we can wind up this thing, right? I think as I was going through each and every part of this section, I have also been trying to link these functions to the safety rep, but let's get through them. Number one, check hazards and in the area where you are appointed. That's your main job. Actually, that's the main reason why we are appointing you as a she rep. That's the main reason why you are there at that particular company. You are there to open eyes. You are going to open eyes and check for hazards, all right? And then assist in coming up with ways to sort out those hazards, right? So after you have identified the hazards as a she rep, you would need to make representation to the employer. So so that the employer is aware of what these hazards have been identified and they need to be taken care of. Now, we also have number C saying you take complaints from staff. This is a point I need to also explain and clarify. Which complaints are you taking from staff? So be careful if you are a safety rep. People sometimes confuse a safety rep and a union rep, right? A union rep and a safety rep are not the same. A union rep can be able to actually, a union rep can be able to actually take almost any matter to management, whereas a safety rep cannot take any matter to management. He or she only takes matters that have got something to do with occupational health and safety. Only, right? Because you will find that some employees will come with issues about labor. Hey, I was supposed to be promoted, but they promoted Lamlan instead. That is not your job as a sheriff. That's for the union, if the union is there. If the union is not there, that person must go to HR department to deal with that. Somebody will come to you and say, hey, they lied to me and now I'm suspended. No, that is not your job. It must go to HR, right? Where now your job is to deal with OHS matters. When somebody comes and say, I've been hurt, I've been injured, I think I'm not safe, I think I need new PPE, I think I need this and that, those are your issues. When do not handle issues that have got something to do with HR. That is for union rep. Other companies, they don't call you union rep, they will call them what? Shop steward, right? So you find some places saying shop steward, shop steward. That is the job of a shop steward, to take almost any case. But when I, as a sheriff, only take complaints that have got everything to do with occupational health and safety. So it's a line that needs to be drawn, because in some situations, people don't know the difference between that. Somebody's going to come and start saying, look, I really feel my salary is not enough. Hey, my overtime was not punched in. Hey, no, those ones are not my issue, guys. Go to HR and sort it out, okay? So it's very important. Another job or another function that a sheriff should do is to participate in incident investigation. We are going to do incident investigation on Thursday, which is our last day. Right. When we talk about incident investigation, we are referring to that an incident has taken place even though we tried to avoid it, right? So now that you have tried to avoid it and it has happened, now you need to end up just doing the investigation because you could not avoid. Another thing again is that as much as we can be able to avoid some of these hazards to take place, some of them are natural hazards. Some risks are natural. For example, flooding. For example, excessive heat because of heat wave, or excessive cold because of a cold front. You in this situation, you will be in a position where you cannot avoid them. So after this thing has happened, what do? You do incident investigation. We'll talk about it deeper on Thursday to cover it up. Of course, the other job that you need to do is that when inspectors arrive, you need to accompany these inspectors around the company so that you can be able to deal with them. Before I move on to the next session, I'm just gonna try to check if the contributions that are coming on messages here are something that we need to also look into it. Right, perfect, yes. I can say, and I'm going to actually handle this. Okay. The download of the document is there. I'm gonna do it at the end of the lesson, how you download the documents, and then I'm also going to attend to Lungelo almost at the end of this session. All right, thank you for the contribution. Thank you for the message that you are sending. If you feel like you need to send a message, don't you worry. Please send a message, and I'll be able to handle it. Let's move on to the next chapter. I hope so far we have covered our parts. Those who feel that they need to ask questions, do not worry. I will give you an opportunity to ask questions. Let me push a little bit. Maybe when there is 5 minutes left, then I give you time to take questions. Now, When you go to section 19 up to section 23 or so here, you will see that they now telling you how well you can survive or use your work as a safety rep, right? So after you have seen that you are many as safety rep, the law demands that you should come together and create what we call a safety committee, a safety committee. All right. How the safety committee works basically means that you guys are coming together, working together so that you can be able to give the consent, consent to your employer easily as together, so that not everyone can be able to go to. So come together and you are able to give clarity there, or to take consents to the employer. And when these committees are being established, try by all means that there are more safety reps than managers, or at least let it be equal numbers. Not a situation whereby managers are more than safety reps. It's better for C reps to be more than the managers, right? You need to be meeting regular basis, and when you meet, make sure that the discussions are minuted. You are putting them in a minutes, and these minutes must be kept on record. Attendance register need to be kept in record, because this is what you are going to get it through, right? I'm also receiving concerns about the slides. I will try to raise it like this. I hope this will work. Maybe they are now bigger. I think now it's bigger. All right. We are getting towards the end of it. So this is establishment of SHE committees, and we have just spoken about it. Let's move on to the next part, where we say the functions of committees, quite clear. Let's go to the last part I want to talk about, section 24. Section 24, other sections, of course, guys, you can be able to deal with them. Section 24 talks about incidents that need to be reported, right? Make sure that these incidences, we understand that there is a reason why they should be reported. These are serious incidences that need to be reported to the chief inspector, and there is a form that is designed, which is found on the Department of Labor. You can download the form there, where you can be able to actually do the reporting of incidences. You report incidents for two reasons. One, there is somebody who is supposed to pick up the bill to pay for the incident. That's a fact, right? You also report incidences so that they can be investigated, so that they can be avoided in the future. So these are the most two common reasons why incidents should be reported. Number one, somebody must pick up the bill. I need to make it clear that it's either the company must pay, or you must pay, or the government must pay. So in this arena, one of you must be the one who is picking up the bill. Hence, there is need to report. So section 24 makes a list of reported, right? As we come to the end of our lesson today, we should wind up what we have learned about so far. We have managed to cover certain parts of the Act, which are very, very important. If there are certain parts we did not cover, of course, we do have platforms where we can be able to talk about. As I close down our today's discussion, I would like to also bring forth other acts that we can try by all means to understand. I'll just read them for the benefit of the record. We have got Environment Conservation Act. We have got Hazardous Substance Act. We have got National Environmental Management Act. They like to call it NEMA. We do have Tourism Act, Water Act, National Water Act. We have got Water Services Act, Forestry Act, Atmospheric Pollution Prevention Act, COIDA, and Explosive Act, and many other acts that I did not include in my research. All these acts are actually important for you as a SHE rep, or as a person who is working in the in this sector should get. Can I allow questions? If there's anyone who has questions, today I will take about 3 questions before I go, if we can, because with the number of people, it's difficult to take questions because some of your microphones are not easy to open. Anybody with a question?